Arnab Goswami on the debate at 9.
Viewers, there's been a sense of confusion. And I thought this morning it's a great time to clarify some of these new guidelines released by the MHA on the opening up of more shops. Frankly, I had many questions myself. Many have asked, can salons be open? Can tailors render services? Can barbers restart their business? What is open, what can't be? The Ministry of Home Affairs has cleared the air. Here are the full details, and then we'll take this as a lockdown question section. So you have a lot of experts. I'd love your phone calls as well.
Last night, the Ministry of Home Affairs issued fresh guidelines on shops that can now operate in the lockdown period. But after receiving a slew of questions, the ministry also issued a detailed clarification. So for now, only non-containment zones, all shops except those in shopping malls can operate in rural areas. In urban areas, all standalone shops, neighborhood shops and shops in residential complexes will be open. These include shops that sell non-essential items.
शहरी क्षेत्र में जो एरियाज कंटेनमेंट जोन्स में नहीं आते हैं वहाँ पर कुछ प्रकार की दुकानों को खोलने की अनुमति है, जैसे कि नेबरहुड शॉप्स, अड़ोस पड़ोस में जो दुकानें होती हैं, रेजिडेंशियल कॉम्प्लेक्सेस यानी कि आवासीय परिसर में जो दुकान है या जो स्टैंड अलोन दुकान है जिसके आसपास और दुकानें नहीं हैं.
The new relaxations are only for shops selling things and not for those rendering services, which means restaurants, salons and barber shops will be shut.
The reason I'm standing here in this area, Sector 61 of Noida, is just to give a sense of, how confusion has created after the initial announcements in the morning. That area over there is a residential premises. Just few meters from that, if you look here, this is a shopping complex. Now, for people living in this area, it could be a classic confusion whether this would be considered as a place which might be open in view of the lockdown, in view of the ease on the lockdown announced by the government. To ensure that we definitely pass on the right information, any shop which is considered as a shopping complex, even if it is just next to your residential area, next to your residential building, will not be open. And that is a clear instruction from the government. So in this case, while the shops over there will be open, this area will be completely closed.
So shops in single brand and multi-brand malls can't operate. Nor can shops in markets or market complexes. Nor can shops in hotspots and containment zones.
All the shops in the new Ashok Nagar market, which is filled with numerous shops here, can be seen with the shutter down. All the shops are shut here until further orders are out. In fact, Delhi government has decided that they will maintain status quo.
The government is taking steps to ease this phase for the people. But if lockdown violations continue, it can weaken our fight against corona. Let's debate.
Okay, viewers, this is basically a clearing your doubts section today, not a political debate. So Sambit is not in a debate today, perhaps for the first time in a decade. So it's a clearing your doubts section, but we'd like to have someone from the ruling party because perhaps he has some clearer sense of what's open and what's not. Let me introduce the others as well. Viren Shah there is the president of the Retail Traders Welfare Association of Mumbai. Viren, just say hello as I introduce you all. We have with us also Brigadier Sanjay Agarwal. Hello, Brigadier Agarwal. Can you hear me? Brigadier Agarwal. Fixing his camera. Okay. He's fixing his camera there. He's former security advisor at the Ministry of Home Affairs. Anurag Katriyar, president of the National Restaurants Association of India. Can you say hello there for everyone, sir? Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you. We have with us also Kuldeep Pandit. Kuldeep Pandit? Kuldeep Pandit is the co-founder.
Hi.
Hello. Is the co-founder and CEO of Home Genie. It's an online e-commerce platform. A lot of questions about e-commerce. And Abhiraj Singh Bhal is the co-founder of the Urban Company, popularly known as Urban Clap. Hi, Abhiraj.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi.
Yeah,
Hi, Arnab.
yeah. Good to see you all. Okay. So maybe some of you have questions, maybe some of you have clarifications. We'll just try to get all the cameras and all adjusted, and we'll take your lockdown questions. So let me start broadly with you, Viren. Are all shops in all states open? I'm sure you have seen the Ministry of Home Affairs order, which speaks of the opening of all shops registered under the Shops and Establishment Act. Does this mean that all states will have all shops open? Or are there restrictions on what can be opened, what cannot be opened? Can you please explain this to all our viewers from how you understand it? Viren.
See, it came late in the night. So in the morning when I got up, that time we got a lot of calls and there was a headline on the news channels that all the shops will be open with the 50% staff. And this is very shocking for me because I didn't expect that kind of a headline. So I immediately told them, just hold on. Don't take any decision in hurriedly. When I read the order, there was a lot of restrictions along with it, that you can't open when the hotspot is there, coronavirus spread is there. You can't open in the market area. You have to be away from the market. So very confusing, this kind of guidelines. Even I could not understand unless I read it very carefully again and again. And of course, later on, we had to send the messages to all our shopkeepers that don't take any calls unless we get a call, the guidelines from the Maharashtra state government. We should not be opening any of our shop. And that's where we ensured that none of the store remains open till the government comes out with the proper clarification. After all,
you mean the state government?
The clarification came. State government, yes.
And what do you know now? I mean, so what you're basically saying is that no, all states, all shops are not open. There are restrictions on which shops can be opened and which cannot be opened. And individual states, you are saying, have the discretion to go ahead with the opening of shops or not. So, Sambit, it is a fine, you have okay from the center, but am I right in saying eventually it's the individual states which have the discretion of deciding what shops to open and not open? Yeah, Viren, you want to add something as well. Viren, go on.
The whatever the guidelines was there, they should have very clearly said that only villages shops will remain open, only not the cities, so that it would be very clear. But that was not the clarity on the guidelines. So that's why the confusion all over all the states, there was a confusion in this.
Yeah, but what is the reality? What is the picture on the ground? Yes, Sambit wants to clarify. Sambit.
See, you have to understand that as far as the states and the center is concerned in this federal structure, the instruction was, well, yes, the states have to. The broad guidelines were given by the center. The states can tailor make it depending on the situation in the state. First and foremost, no one can exceed what the brief has been given by the center. But of course, you can put things into hold. For instance, if the shops in the villages are allowed to be open, you can keep them shut if it is a containment zone. But you cannot exceed the brief of the center, number one. Number two, very importantly, what Mr. Viren was saying right now, villages and cities. Technical term used was the boundary of municipality. Anything beyond municipality, of course, was rural areas, and that which comes under the municipality area is the city area. Because it was technical, so many people might not have understood, and it was later clarified. So in the village areas, which generally do not have malls are to be shut everywhere. And any other shop apart from malls in the village area that comes apart from our municipal areas would be open. In the city areas, that means technically speaking in the municipal areas, we have three categories of shops which would be open. The neighborhood shops, which in Hindi we would say, hamare ghar ke aas-paas ke kirane ki dukaan, number one. The residential complexes, many of us staying in residential areas have residential complexes. These complexes can be open. Number three, and very importantly, we can have our stand-alone shops. So a string of shops in a shopping complex will not be allowed, but a standalone shop, and all this would be functioning with 50% of the staff. So if you see this broadly, I believe I have explained what it is, and as to why the shops were allowed to open, I would say that, well, look, Prime Minister had said previously, now it is Jaan bhi and Jahan bhi. So, of course, Jaan and Jahan both have to be looked after, but sabko sara Jahan ek saath nahi mil sakta hai. तो Jahan टुकड़ों, थोड़े-थोड़े टुकड़ों में, थोड़ा है, थोड़े की जरूरत है. This is the way we get our Jahan back.
Yeah, interesting. So, you know, the question is that is it business as usual? Everyone's on. We'll take some phone calls as well. We've got a lot of questions coming in on Twitter. So the idea is to open up in the lockdown questions. So the question many people are asking is it business as usual for shops that can now open, or are there rules to be followed? This has been clarified by Sambit Patra. All permitted shops can only open with a 50% strength, and they have to ensure compulsory wearing of masks and also follow the social distancing norms. Now, are the rules different for urban areas and rural areas? Can that question be taken by Sanjay Agarwal, who has also gone through this in detail? Brigadier Sanjay Agarwal, will the shops open differently in rural and urban areas? And what are the restrictions in cities?
Yeah, allow me 20 seconds for the introductory part, which I seem to have missed out on. Firstly, Ramzan Mubarak to all your viewers and to you all, of course. Now, the rules guidelines are very clear. Please understand, viewers, the chronology of events. 14th April, after the Prime Minister addressed the nation, there were two guidelines and orders issued. One was the extension of lockdown, and the other was containment measures, and the Prime Minister had announced detailed guidelines will be issued. They were issued next day. Thereafter, on 24th, yesterday, there was a minor modification and a minor inclusion, and today, the question that you're asking has been clarified in a Press Information Bureau release. All of this information is available on public domain easily. Now let me answer that question that you have asked. Number one, the 15th April revised consolidated guidelines, the government needs to be acknowledged that all previous things have been consolidated. So the answer is there in para 13.1.3, supply of essential goods. And there in its para 2 it says, all shops including kirana, single shops selling essential goods and carts, including ration shops under PDS, and those dealing with food and groceries for daily use, hygiene items, fruits, dairy, milk booths, poultry, milk, meat, fish will all be open. So the guidelines are very clear. They are in the public domain, paras 5 to 20 of this government consolidated revised guidelines dated 15 April with a very small amplification and two inclusions given on 24th. Now coming to the urban-rural aspect, today itself the PIB, the Press Information Bureau, has issued this clarification on the MHA order, and I quote, in rural areas, all shops except those in shopping malls are allowed to be open.
Yes.
In urban areas, all standalone shops, neighborhood shops, and shops in residential complexes are allowed to be open. Shops in markets or market complexes and shopping malls are not allowed.
Yeah, so this is...
And this difference between markets and shopping complexes was covered in yesterday's order.
Yeah.
I am happy to take on clarification from the viewers with a request. Please read this 15-page consolidated revised guidelines issued by the Government of India, the MHA. They are very clear and on all aspects.
Yeah, I understand and I've heard you completely. I'm sorry, viewers, there's a little bit of a lip sync there, but Brigadier Agarwal explained it quite well. I would like to repeat it. I'm taking it slowly through everyone so we know what we are talking about. The question was, what are the restrictions in urban and rural areas? Will cities have more restrictions? From my understanding is all shops except malls can open in rural areas. But in cities, urban areas, only standalone shops, neighborhood shops, which is your kirana store, and shops which are within your residential complex. So if there is a shop that operates within a apartment block or a residential complex which you're living in, that alone can be open. Okay, let's go to Abhiraj from the Urban Company, Urban Clap. What about digital services, digitally enabled services like yours, for example? You run a range of very useful services for people. Are you allowed to operate? Does this function for you? What about the people services, that you provide people? Are you allowed to operate? What does this mean for you, and what do you understand of the MHA measures for e-commerce companies?
Yeah, Arnab, if you look at the consolidated guidelines that came out on the 15th, they have mentioned that from the 20th of April, only in what are known as green zones or non-containment zones, select highly essential services like plumbers, technicians, etc., can start to operate. And these also have to be done in a very careful manner, only in non-containment zones, and only for absolute essentials. For instance, if somebody's fuse was to break down, or if somebody's water purifier was not working. At the same time, all of these professionals have to ensure that they are following the right safety protocols, which means they are wearing masks, gloves, sanitizers, and in the case that they have any symptoms, that they do not step out. So I think those remain very clear. And even insofar as today's guidelines are concerned, my understanding is that these are meant for local shops where social distancing measures can be maintained, and they do not allow any relaxation for service setups such as barber shops, etc. Those will probably be looked into in the subsequent few weeks. But as of now, that is not going to be allowed.
Yeah. Abhiraj clarified that, and so that answers the question that does this circular with fresh relaxations mean that people can go for haircuts or salons? No, the Home Ministry has said these are not shops that sell items. These are service providers which will continue to remain shut. I want to double this up with another question people are asking. What about liquor, wine shops, beer shops? But unfortunately for those who like their peg, the Home Ministry has said that the sale of liquor continues to be prohibited. So don't try to break the rules on that. I'd like to go next to Anurag Katriyar, who is the President of the National Restaurants Association of India and CEO of Digastibis Hospitality Private Limited. What about the catering business, the restaurant business? What is open and what is not open? Has anything changed for you?
So thank you, Arnab. No, I think as far as restaurant F&B business is concerned, there is a complete status quo. There is no change at all. The home deliveries which were permitted are still there. But other than that, nothing else is permitted. Restaurants remain closed. But, I have a little larger question on this, Arnab. While I know there are some partial openings happening, but, with lockdown in place, how are we ever going to see consumption? The shops may open, but if people are not allowed to step out, how do we see consumption there? And that's a larger question that I have.
Well,
this may help in a few rural areas, in Mufassil towns, in a certain way. But overall, I don't know how is it going to change equations for the business. It will not lead to any economic start, so to say.
Well, okay, so let Sambit take that. This was not a debate, but I'm sure you appreciate, Anurag, that at this point of time, we are not yet flattened the curve. We're some way away from that, so maybe some patience is in order. But Sambit, you can respond to Anurag.
Yeah, Anurag has a point. In fact, a very pertinent one at that. But I believe there are two reasons. Number one, the gradual, I would say, opening up of business has to be done. And I believe this is the beginning from the lower end of the pyramid. Secondly, and most importantly, essential goods, very important, even during the lockdown, and the shops were open. And remember, there was a lot of confluencing and crowding around the single few shops that were open. So I believe now we would have some amount of distribution of the crowd that we used to see around a few shops. And I believe that would help out in the lockdown period as well.
Absolutely. Well, we just are going to open up. There are a lot of callers in, so I'm going to start lining up the calls. One question which comes to people, of course, we have Pradeep Lulla also joining us now. He's president of the Travel Association of India, TAFE. Pradeep, does life change in terms of the travel industry at all? Or is it again, no change as far as you're concerned?
It's a total zero as far as we go. I mean, our main business is actually airline tickets. And you know that the airlines, firstly, all the airports are closed. We cannot make any booking. The government has also given a directive that even future bookings cannot be made unless they give the directive for the airlines to come up with their schedules. So as far as our business goes, we are a total zero. We are negative, and even domestic is total zero.
Okay.
So it's very taxing currently on us.
Our first caller is Dr. Minay Devji from Pune. Thanks for holding for a long time. Dr. Devji, what's your lockdown question?
Good evening. I have regard about private dental clinics, okay, since we are dealing with patients that may be asymptomatic carriers, and we are at the front line as well, because we're doing a lot of aerosol procedures. And I know we open for emergencies only, but when can we get back to our normal routine, our full day working schedule as such?
Okay, this is for, you're in the dental profession, Dr. Devji. This question is when dental clinics can be opened up. I presume you're running a standalone clinic. And you have a concern also as well that when you open, you do a lot of aerosol procedures where, there you see an apparent medical danger. So, Brigadier Agarwal, you want to answer that? You have an answer on a lot of people questions with dentistry.
Okay. So, as our esteemed doctor would be aware that there are two issues involved. Number one, the infection danger, and number two, the distraction of load from a proper hospital. And therefore, the government has clarified this, that all non-emergency procedures are at the moment in a status of suspension and will remain so. And typically for the dental service where the threat of infection is very high, my expectation is that this sector would open up for non-emergency routine dental care later rather than sooner.
Okay. So now, I have with me Kuldeep Pandit, who is the co-founder and CEO of Home Genie, online e-commerce platform. Dr. Pandit, what changes as far as e-commerce is concerned? A lot of people wanting to know, like today, Flipkart also appealed to the government to allow the sale of non-essentials. And the similar argument as was put up earlier by Anurag, that this is going to, just boost things up a little bit. Do you see a change of stand happening there? Or the definition of essentials being broadened a bit? What's the status for e-commerce platforms and for their users?
Yeah, so Arnab, thanks for inviting me to the debate. Home Genie is the only platform in the world which provides both products and services.
Yeah.
So we provide fruits, vegetables, milk, bread, everything. And then we provide services like haircut, salon, massage, everything. Now, when the lockdown was announced, actually 5 days before the lockdown, we stopped our services because we clearly could see that human-to-human contact was not advisable. However, we continued our product distribution, but obviously, as you can imagine, even if government allows you to, say for example, do these services and provide these services in households, there are a lot of restrictions that are imposed at a local level. There are containment zones, there are restrictions by housing societies. So I would say forget non-essentials for a moment, which anyway I think should remain where they are. Even for essential services, to facilitate the actual medium, whether it is digital or non-digital medium that you're looking at, there is a lot of cooperation that is required at local level between the police authorities, between the housing societies, and ultimately the companies and the people to ensure that the basic necessities are given to people. I am myself in a containment zone for last 10 days. There are no e-commerce companies allowed to operate here. I live in Gurgaon. And so I would say non-essentials is still a very long, far away cry, or even services like what Urban Company does or what we do, they are kind of secondary. I think what is going to be absolutely paramount is that in coming time, we first completely restore essential product services and deliveries to the societies and households.
Yeah.
Because that's where if the milk is not reaching, if the fruits and vegetables and bread is not reaching, that is much more crucial.
Yeah,
and I completely echo with the government sentiment that this has to be staged.
It's excellent that you have said that.
It has to be kind of staggered.
No, it's excellent you have said that, Kuldeep. I think that shows your civic sense. You're in a containment zone. You run a company whose revenues are entirely, to a large extent dependent on services and others. And I think you have the sagacity and the vision to say that it's need to only get the priority list of essentials up. I think you're being a damn good citizen, Kuldeep, and well done for that. Rishi Kapoor is calling. Don't worry, it is not our very own Rishi Kapoor, but there is our very own Rishi Kapoor, our viewer from Mumbai, Thane to be precise. Rishi, are you there? Mr. Kapoor, please go on.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Kapoor, you can hear me?
Yeah,
go on.
Yes, I can hear you. My question is government has planned to open some stores, some shops in the area. So there is no clarity which kind of shops is to be opened, and is there any specific timings and specific years for that?
Yeah, this question is on everyone's mind, Rishi, and I'll let Sanjay Agarwal take that. One question is you've allowed some shops to be open, Kirana store, but everything is not just right next door for everyone. And everyone does not have a residential, residential shop within their apartment block. How do people go, and are there timings for that? Brigadier Agarwal.
So before I come to this, let me address a question which was asked, and there was a thing about the private services functioning with regard to urban clap, etc. So para 14 of the guidelines clearly mentions in subpara 8 and in subpara 11 services provided by self-employed persons. So I agree that whereas large companies would not be there.
Yeah, but can you answer his question on timing and timings of opening up of shops? When do people go there? That was what I wanted you to take.
There are two issues in the question which have been asked. Number one, the opening of additional shops. That is a work in progress. The timings, I am not aware of any promulgation which has been done at the national level.
Viren knows something more on that. Viren, you want to add something on that quickly because we've got a short little time left.
This question is very pertinent because there are a lot of things which people are looking for in the household, like a kitchenware items, and there are stationaries, there are newborn babies, people who have just delivered a baby girl, a baby boy, they are looking for baby items, and these things are not available. So I have one suggestion to the government, any government could think of. It's a green zone areas where the actually coronavirus is not spread. Even in Mumbai, there are certain sections of the area where the coronavirus is not that widely spread. So why don't we open like a phased manner few of the areas where the coronavirus is not there? At least those kind of items are available to the nearest neighborhood.
Well, it's easier said than done with more than 5,000 cases in Mumbai. Sambit will answer. We quickly close after that.
No, we have to be very careful about the containment zones, and equally, I believe we have to be very careful about the non-containment zones
Absolutely.
as well. I mean, that we do not make these non-containment zones into containment zones.
It's a tough call, Viren, Sambit, it's a tough call. Listen, I have to wrap up the lockdown questions here. I thank you very much, and sorry for those whose calls I could not take. See you on the other side on the war that Mamta has started.